Yet you may have seen just today, I'm trying to think which agency it was that actually busted a sex trafficking ring in the Washington, D.C. area that was servicing high-level government employees, high-level contractors. This was going on right in the Washington, D.C. area. Today, this story broke. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want it exposed that their ultimate plan that is behind so much of what's going on in schools now is to make a child believe that it's okay to be raped by an adult. And this is what's happening. People are going to try to spin it all different ways, but the bottom line is there are adults who want access to children for their personal pleasure. And from what many people in Hollywood have said, right, they were on Epstein's flights. They're powerful people, and they clearly do not want to shut this operation down. They've known about it for a decade, 10 years. They've trafficked these children for labor, for sex, and other unspeakable things. Now, no one would say that the New York Times is a right-wing leaning newspaper. I certainly don't. As a matter of fact, some people criticize me for praising one reporter. Her name is Hannah Dreier at the New York Times. She will talk about the labor trafficking of the children. She has written several incredible exposés. One very recently. I live in Virginia. We have a Tyson chicken processing plant. A little boy who was an unaccompanied minor was working with fake papers saying he was in his 20s on the overnight shift in this plant. And he got pulled into, his arm was pulled into one of these machines. And fortunately, somebody called 911 in time and they were able to airlift him out. But the veins, the major veins in his arms, you know, were torn open. And so he almost bled to death. Fortunately, he's alive today. Hannah Dreier chronicles this story and many others. I mean, this little boy survived. Many don't. You know, they're come here, they're put into labor, they're working on roofs. They're not qualified for that. And they fall off the roof and they die. I mean, they're delivering in New York City meals and other things. They're on bicycles in the middle of all of these cars and they get run over and killed. There are many children who have come across in this program who've died just in labor trafficking. But she will not talk about the sex trafficking. And that's something that, well, I'm sure no one at the New York Times wants her talking about that, but we need to hold the government accountable. We need to have the courage to look into the face of this evil and say, not on my watch, not on my watch. These are innocent little children. Carlos tells about even transporting infants. Infants. How can these children speak for themselves? They need your voice. They need your voice. So I would call on your listeners to get educated about this terrible subject. I wish I didn't know about it, but now that I do, you know, we need to stand up for the children. I've heard them screaming for their parents. I've watched these children have panic attacks, children who had to be put on suicide watch. They need our help. They're in crisis. And now 85,000 are gone. That's what HHS will admit to. 85,000 that they've just lost contact with.